Hi, this is Rob Mackey. I'm going to give you some examples of some of the techniques that I use when I'm practicing pieces on the piano. The first one I'm going to show you is something that I wouldn't do, but it's something a pianist would do, and it's arpeggios and scales. Something like, or and so on. In my opinion, it's not the best technique to start by warming up, but I could see people using it to warm up their hands, but I prefer to start with a piece or something I already know just to warm myself up. Another technique that I use, which I actually do use, is breathing deeply while I'm playing. I use it because it helps me calm down and think about what I'm actually doing, and by focusing on the breathing you don't get distracted, so you know what you're doing when you're playing the piece. I think that this is good because it's quite effective when I use it, and it helps distract me from, say, audiences, because I can get nervous in front of people, and that's why I think that's a pretty good idea. When I am practicing a piece or learning a piece, I start with the right hand, and once I know that, then I'll move on to the left hand, and then I'll join it together. I think this improves the way that I learn because it's a lot quicker than learning at the same time, each hand, and by learning each part, left hand, right hand, in chunks, and going over and over it again helps you build up your knowledge of the piece, and then you can practice it without the music, and then you can build up to playing the whole piece with music, and then after that you can just lose the music and see what you can do. When I make a mistake, however, I will always just go back to the beginning and start over. I don't go back to the previous bar or the previous line. I just start from the beginning and go from there, because if I keep going over the beginning parts which I've learned, then I will get them into my head, and then as I get through the piece, the more that I go back, the more that I'll know that bit, and the more that I'll know the next bit. I think it's quite effective. It was quite effective because I learn the piece a lot quicker, and I can learn more than one piece in a weekend or in a week. So I think that technique is pretty effective. Another technique that I use is to practice as much as I can, not just because I need to learn the piece, it's just because it's something to do, it's something to distract me from life, because life's boring. I just do it whenever I can. If there's nothing on TV, if I have no work, then I'll just practice any piece, or just go over a piece that I've already learned, just generally, because I don't want to forget any pieces that I've learned. Even if I'm at school, if I'm bored in lessons, then I'll just play the table, or because this just drums into your head all the time, and it just keeps your memory focused on any piece that you know, and if you can just do it in your head or on a table, you can increase the amount of knowledge you have of the piece. It's quite effective for the keeping of the piece in your mind, so you don't lose that. Another technique I use when I'm learning a piece is if the piece or the part of the piece is frustrating me, or I just can't learn it because I'm just not thinking properly, or I'm not thinking about what I'm doing, then I'll just stop that piece, play something I know just to distract me from that, something I like to play, and then after I've played that a couple of times, I'll go back to the piece I was trying to learn, and I'm in a calmer mood, and I'm more likely to take in what I'm trying to learn. It's quite helpful because it calms you down when you're angry, and you don't lose what you're learning from the other piece, because you're building up the knowledge of your previous piece, but you're also going back to learn the other piece. Yeah, it calms you down, and it effectively helps you learn the piece if you're frustrated with it. A technique that I use on pieces that I know so well that I could just play it off the top of my head is, even though I know it continuously all the time, I could just do it off the top of my head. I won't just play it the same every time. Sometimes I might play it slowly, sometimes I might play it quickly, like the piece Nouvelle Bianche by Ludovico Einaudi. You might know it. It goes, the main part goes like... And I'm just playing that with no dynamics, no emphasis, no effort. But if I'm practicing at home and I want to like add to the piece, then I might add dynamics. For example, I could start quietly, and then do a pause, and then just, and then go quiet again. Things like that can improve the piece, that even if you think you've got it perfectly, just adding small little things can make the piece a lot more better. And I think it's quite effective for any artist, singer. Adding, say, an extra note in a song could just add something to the thing you're playing or singing. So I think that's quite effective. A final technique that I'm going to discuss with you is a technique that I use, and it helps me a lot to learn pieces. It is to learn the piece in its original form. Say, if you're a singer, learning the song by the original artist in your head, and so you should know it back to back. Or if it's on the piano or on the guitar, you learn the song as it's originally played, and then when you come to learn it, you know what it's going to sound like, so you know how you can edit it to make it sound, edit the music, or if you play by ear, then you can like add things to it. And I use this because it helps me a lot when I'm trying to learn a piece. Because if I don't know the piece, then I find it a lot harder to learn the basics of it. But if I know it, then I can easily pick up the tune and the patterns of the notes. Overall, I think all of the practice techniques that I've discussed with you are worth using, because they all help me, apart from the arpeggios at the beginning. They all help me make a step forward in my ability to play the piano. I feel that if I didn't use these, then I'd be a lot further back down the line on my ability to play the piano. Because if I didn't use these techniques, then I wouldn't be able to, say, pick up a piece quickly, or learn a piece quickly, or just get the basic tune. So overall, I do think that these techniques that I've discussed with you are incredibly effective, and I think some people should think about using more techniques to help themselves learn pieces in the future.